Hello, good evening. Welcome to Hot Edition here on 3FM 92.7. We're coming to you live from our studios here on the John Hammond Street. I know, not your regular voice, but coming up this evening, Ghana Registered Nurses and Midwives Association issue new strike threat as Parliament Health Committee pushes for resolution of impasse. We have details, plus speak to some experts in relation to the matter. Also this evening, over 300 NPP grassroots executives in the Volta region endorse flag bearer hopeful Dr. Brian Echampong, who doubles as a member of parliament for the Abetifi constituency in defiance of the party's directive. We asked the big question, what are the implications of a move like this? A lot later, the court or high court remands two suspects into police custody for the alleged involvement in the physical abuse of a 12-year-old boy in the Western region. Details of these and a lot more, plus take you to Parliament, where the Communications Minister Sam George is brief in the House at this particular juncture on the reasoning and basis for the shutdown of some radio stations in the country. All of that and more if you stay with us here on 3FM 92.7. Don't forget, we're streaming live on Facebook, the handle 3FM 927, as well as on Twitter, the handle 3FM 927, and as well on all other relevant channels. Do well to leave a message in the streams. We'll be doing the reading for you. I am Mawuena Egbeta. We get details, including news briefs, shortly. Again, a pleasure that you could join us this evening here on Hot Edition. Let's get straight into the news briefs. Christabel Saxes is here with the very latest. Christabel, what do we have in the news?
Well, our first story in the news summary, we have a gender-based violence court in 2nd D has remanded Suleiman Abdul Rashid and Issa Moro into police custody after a viral video showed them allegedly abusing a 12-year-old boy accused of stealing 200 Ghana cedis. They are facing preliminary charges of causing harm and child cruelty in breach of Ghana's Criminal Offences Act and the Children's Act. Though their lawyer requested bail, citing strong community ties and over 48 hours in custody, the judge denied the two persons bail. The case is adjourned to 10th July 2025. In some education stories, the Minister of Education, Haruna Idrisu, has announced that President John Dramani Mahama will sponsor full scholarships to 10 overall best performing West African Senior School Certificate Examination, that's WASI candidates, every year. Speaking at the WAEC Distinction Awards in Accra on Thursday, June 26, the minister said President Mahama has directed for the scholarship initiative to be extended to the top 10 WASI students in each cycle. Now, the Ghana Health Service has responded to the recent outbreak of COVID-19 cases recorded at the University of Ghana. In a public health advisory statement issued following the recent COVID-19 cases, the Ghana Health Service confirmed the outbreak and said all reported cases are mild, with no hospital admissions to date. The service said health authorities are working closely with university officials to contain the outbreak, which is currently confined to the University of Ghana campus, and review the measures in response to the situation. The Accra Metropolitan Assembly has started clamping down on vehicles that violate the new rule, limiting street loading and offloading to between 6 p.m. and 7 a.m., aimed at easing congestion in the city. Offenders would have their vehicles towed at their own cost and face prosecution. So far, vehicles caught in areas like the Central Business District and Makola have been fined, and the operation will continue across other busy areas, with drivers urged to use approved loading zones and terminals. And finally, before I take my leave, Vice President of Ghana, Professor Nana Jane Opoku-Agyeman, has reaffirmed the government's commitment to ensuring the passage of the long-awaited civil society non-profits bill. This is to regulate and strengthen the operations of civil society organizations across the country. Speaking at the Ghana Civil Society Forum held in Accra, the Vice President stressed that for civil society to thrive and play its crucial role in national development, there must be a strong legal legal framework to guide and protect its work. Over to you, Mawuena.
Thank you very much, Christabel, with the updates from the world of news. We'll continue in this evening. I mentioned the Communications Minister and Minister for Digitalization as well, Samuel Nate George, is in Parliament at this particular point in time. Remember the story of some media houses shut down. It became a center of controversy, particularly in Parliament, when that announcement came through. The minority leader, Alexander Penyumarkin, had cause to question the basis for the shutdown of these radio stations, but the president, John Dramani Mahama, extended or tasked the minister and the National Communications Authority to extend clemency to these listed radio stations. Well, it didn't prevent the House from asking the minister to make himself available to provide answers as to the basis for the shutdown of these stations. Let's take you there. That's Parliament right now, where the minister is answering these questions, and take a listen in.
We're having a conversation
Very
with
well.
our boss.
You have the floor.
Mr. Speaker, I want to find out from the minister the reasons attributed to why those 4 radio stations were closed on national security grounds or briefings. Have you gone beyond the security briefings to engage the owners, and if that is done, what measures are you putting in place so that sooner or later you can reopen those radio stations?
Yes, Honorable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, as Minister, I haven't authorized the shutdown of 4 radio stations. I've authorized the shutdown of 1. In 2023, I wasn't Minister, but that was when there was the decision to shut down the 4 radio stations. I'm not privy to the reasons that were given to the then minister to warrant the shutdown in 2023 of the 4. However, what I am privy to is the fact that the 4 radio stations signed a bond of good behavior, which I have records of at the NCA. I cannot speak to what the national security considerations were then, but since I became minister, we've had to shut down just 1, giving the national security implications of the commentary on that radio station. I thank you.
Yes, Honorable Member.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I know you miss me, I know. But Mr. Speaker, I want to thank the minister for the answers he's given to this House. Just to say that there seems to be a growing interference in the work of the NCA. We know that the minister is supposed to give policy directions to the NCA and all of that. But even in the workings of the NCA, there seems to be a lot of ministerial interference, which is affecting the independence. Oh, please, it's a question. Take your time. Which seems to be affecting the independence of the NCA. Because Section 5(2) of the Electronics Act clearly states, please allow me, are you the one, Chair? States that the minister shall not interfere with the day-to-day administration
Honorable
of the
Member,
authority.
you are violating Standing Order 88.
So, Mr. Speaker, to my question, I want to find out from the minister why the excessive interference from his office to the NCA, and if it does not appreciate the fact that it's affecting the independence of the regulatory body. Thank you very much.
Honorable Member, is your question emanating from the question numbered 6A?
Yes, Mr. Speaker, it has to do with the issuance of letters from the minister's office, even revoking licenses.
Honorable Member, let's look at the question together to ask the Minister for Communication, Digital Technology and Innovations the circumstances that necessitated the closure of the following radio stations. This has nothing completely to do with interference, so I will advise you to file a fresh question. Thank you very much. Yes, honorable member, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Honorable Minister, recognizing the role played by the community radio stations, don't you think that the decision to shut these radio stations down was a bit far-fetched?
Yes, honorable minister.
Right, Honorable Speaker, in fact, given the critical nature of community radio stations, they have a higher duty of responsibility to obey the law and respect the law. The same way members of parliament are expected to be of good behavior because we are called honorable. We are expected to do better than the regular citizen. It's the same way when you have a frequency to broadcast information and shape the minds and inform the people, you must abide by the law. Nobody is above the law. The law is the law. Thank you.
Yes.
Honorable Minister, are there plans to allocate more spectrums this year?
Honorable member, the question is on closure.
Yes, so I'm talking about for community radio stations.
Yes. The question that brought the minister to the House is on closure of some radio stations. So if you want to know from the minister the plans to open fresh radio stations, kindly file a fresh question. Thank you very much. Yes.
Mr. Speaker, I'd like to find out from the Honorable Minister. Clearly from his answers, he has demonstrated that he is expecting strict adherence from these community radio stations when it comes to renewal of licensing. He has also indicated that notice is given 6 months prior to, notice is first given 6 months prior to renewal. And then you are actually supposed to renew it or submit your applications for renewal 3 months before the expiration. Is it a position that once you submit your application, then you are excluded from the possibility of your radio station being closed down, so that it will be clearer that these community radio stations will actually know that once they submit their applications, then they are free, and that will take away the potentials or possibility of being closed down. And I want to find out from the minister if there is some sort of assurance in there. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Honorable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, applications can either be accepted or declined. And so the fact that you apply for a renewal does not mean automatic renewal. Because when you are applying, you apply with a certain number of documents. For example, you apply with your tax clearance certificate. You apply to show that you've been paying your taxes. You apply with an audited financial statement. So the application without the complete set of documents in itself makes your application ineffective. However, once you have begun the process before the 90 days, and if you follow my response, for example, with Abo Channel Media House, the Abo Channel Media Station, Multimedia, they began within the 90 days, but were unable to submit all the documentation. They came back to ask the NCA for a waiver, which the NCA declined. If they had met all the documentation within the period, we would not have shut them down, because even when the waiver was requested and it was declined by the NCA gave them a time frame to submit the required documents. So when you submit before the 90 days, it gives you the opportunity to start the process. But you must make sure you submit completed documentation. Because what I must be clear about is the regulator will not allow you to abuse the system of the system of renewal, such that you just put in an incomplete application to hold the hand of the regulator and continue broadcasting when your documentation is not complete. If you apply for renewal, we will check the documents. If they are up to date, we will renew it. If they are not complete, you'll be given a timeline to submit your completed documents. I thank you.
Right Honorable Speaker, just a follow-up question. So by your answer, is there a specified period, and in law that is required of the NCA to consider your application when you submit them? Do you have a specified period, or is it open-ended, that they have the luxury of time to consider your application anytime they please?
Honorable Member, your question is, if the application is submitted, is there a time period within which the NCA is supposed to look at the application? Yes, Honorable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, 90 days. That's why you are asked to apply 90 days, at least 90 days before the expiration, so that at the time your license is expiring, the NCA would have completed its processes and renewed your license. Because do not forget that the fact that you operate even one day without a valid license is a breach of the law. And a typical example of that is Asasi Radio, which operated for a period of about 10 weeks in 2024 after their license had expired, and only did an application 10 weeks later. It means in that 10 weeks, they were operating illegally without a license. So 90 days is the period. You apply, we renew, and then you have a transition. Thank you.
Honourable members, may we move to another urgent question, also standing in the name of Osahin Alexander Kwamina Afanyo Makins, Member of Parliament for Efutu. Do you equally have the authority?
Yes, I do, Speaker.
I will permit you to ask the question.
Thank you, Speaker. Speaker, I rise to ask the Minister for Communications, Digital Technology Innovations, the immediate cybersecurity measures being implemented on digital platforms following the hacking of President Mahama's X account on the 18th of March 2025. I thank you.
Yes, Honourable Minister.
On 16th March 2025, the Twitter or X account of President John Dramani Mahama was used to publish promotional content for a fraudulent Solana-based cryptocurrency, Solana Africa. The published tweets falsely implied the president's endorsement of a meme token investment opportunity. Our investigations at the Cybersecurity Authority strongly indicate that the breach resulted from a social engineering attack targeting a public relations handler responsible for managing the president's account. Rather than direct account compromise, attackers exploited human vulnerabilities, tricking the handler into revealing access credentials or authorizing malicious access through a phishing link. This incident illustrates how human vulnerabilities, not just technical gaps, can expose high-value digital assets. The attackers behind this event leveraged social engineering and not brute force tactics to weaponize the president's brand and influence. The Cybersecurity Authority, as part of the National Set Enhancement Project and financed through the World Bank's Ghana Digital Acceleration Project, has acquired a threat intelligence and digital risk management tool. This tool, when loaded with the profiles of approved government officials, will automate the current manual process of trying to detect and respond to malicious activities involving the accounts of these officials. And Mr. Speaker, at this point, let me segue and repeat that I have made an application to both sides of the House since I became minister. It's been 5 months. requesting that leadership of both sides of the House furnish the ministry with the official social media handles of members of parliament so that the Cybersecurity Authority could work with platform operators to protect their accounts and take out fraudulent accounts. I'm yet to receive one response from both sides of the House. The CSA has also engaged Meta, owners of Facebook, Instagram, and WhatsApp, to organize virtual sessions for account managers, for MMDAs, and VIPs like MPs on how to properly set up and manage their social media accounts. Mr. Speaker, the CSA has also planned to organize a cyber hygiene training for government officials to sensitize appointees on the threats, risk, and measures to mitigate these threats to safeguard sensitive personal and government data, as well as other digital assets. The ministry, through the Cybersecurity Authority, is committed to ensuring a secured, robust, and reliable network connectivity to all citizens, and we will work closely with both local and international partners to achieve this. And Mr. Speaker, if I may, there is another question on the order paper today that asks the same thing. I do not know if this answer, giving your discretion, it stands in the name of the Honourable Member of Parliament for Efia Constituency, Mr. Isaac Boama Nyako, if this would also apply to that question.
If your answer will take care of that particular question, when we get there, then you said that your previous answer has taken care of your listing. Yes, a supplementary question?
Mr. Speaker, thank you very much. Mr. Speaker, with your indulgence, I just want to plead with you.
Let's exhaust a supplementary question from the question.
I want to make an intervention before it comes.
92.7.
The minister has another 5 questions.
We're just back from Parliament, where we've been bringing details of Communications Minister Sam Nate George answering questions from members of Parliament in relation to the shutdown of a number of radio stations. There's been a substantive question again asked on behalf of the minority leader, Alexander Penyomarkin, as well, on the subject of the president account being hacked a while back, fresh when he had been sworn into office, and the minister explained that steps have been taken to ensure it doesn't repeat itself. In fact, the Cybersecurity Authority as well is taking steps to safeguard and secure accounts of members of parliament, amongst others, including district, metropolitan and district assemblies, amongst many others. Let's return to our top liners for you this afternoon, because we know, amongst many other things, that the Health Committee of Parliament has reaffirmed its commitment to resolving the ongoing dispute between the government and the Ghana Registered Nurses and Midwives Association, the GRNMA, following the postponement of a critical meeting initially scheduled for today. The meeting, which was to involve the Ministers for Health and Finance, was deferred, or has been deferred, to July 10 due to the absence of both ministers from the country. We know that the part of them, one of them, is in China. This delay has further strained tensions, with the nurses warning of a possible resumption of industrial action if their demands remain unmet. The nurses and midwives had earlier begun a strike on June 2, escalating to a full withdrawal of service on June 9 before suspending it on June 13 after mediation by the Parliamentary Select Committee. Let's hear from the president of the Nurses and Midwives Association, who spoke to the media today, expressing to a great extent their displeasure over the postponement of the meeting.
The decision to suspend the strike was based on the intervention of the Parliamentary Select Committee on Health and the pleas of the good people of Ghana, especially our patients. The press briefing today seeks to inform the general public and the nursing and midwifery fraternity that the meeting with the Parliamentary Select Committee on Health scheduled for today, 26 June 2025, has been unilaterally rescheduled to 10 July 2025 per a letter received from the Parliamentary Services yesterday, 25 June 2025. The reason given was that this decision, and I quote, this decision follows the unavailability of some key stakeholders who are currently unavoidably outside the jurisdiction. Due to this development, the National Council of the Association at its meeting held on 25th June 2025 deliberated extensively on the content of the letter and wishes to state as follows. 1. The strike was suspended in good faith, and we expect nothing less than a reciprocity of same. The rescheduling of the meeting, in our view, is in bad faith, since it may further delay the implementation of the agreed items. We have, however, decided to give the committee the benefit of hindsight and still trust that their engagement with the Ministries of Health and Finance will be productive. Number 2, we demand the implementation of the 4 agreed items not later than July 2025. This is non-negotiable, and we shall advise ourselves if any attempt is made to further delay the implementation. 3, with the other items, we wish to reiterate our position that we are amenable to their implementation no later than January 2026. We demand that these timelines are clearly captured.
Doc, good evening to you. Many thanks for joining us this evening on Hot Edition.
Good evening, my brother, and good evening to your listeners.
It's been quite a while we spoke. Hopefully we can catch up after this conversation. I want to pause you just a bit and have you hear or listen to the chair of Parliament Health Committee, Dr. Mark Nawani, because he's been assuring journalists a lot earlier today that the committee remains actively engaged in advocating for your welfare. I want to hear from him, then I come back and then we have the conversation just briefly.
Very well done.
Parliamentary press call. I want to thank you very much for giving me audience at this short notice. Members of the 4th Estate, you recall that on the 12th of June 2025, the Select Committee of Parliament called a meeting to discuss the ongoing strike by Ghana Registered Nurses and Midwives Association of Ghana. In attendance were the Nurses Association, the Ministry of Health, led by the Minister himself, the Ministry of Finance, led by the Deputy Minister, and the Director of Fair Wages Commission. At the end of the meeting, the nurses reduced their demands to 4. Payment of 8% non-basic allowance to all nurses, fuel allowance, which they estimated will apply to 5,300 nurses of a certain category, uniform allowance increased from 400 Ghana cedis to 1,000 Ghana cedis, and the 4th one being research and book allowance, also to be paid to a certain category of nurses. They estimated the number to be about 900. At the end of the meeting, the Ministry of Finance requested for some time to study their demands and carry out an economic and financial impact analysis and report back. It is within this context that a meeting was rescheduled for 2 weeks. That is today, the 26th of June. We also represent the patients and all other citizens of Ghana.
That's Dr. Ket Nawani. He's chairman of Parliament's Health Committee. Let me bring back Dr. David Tinkran. Doc, you've heard the chairman of the Health Committee. He's put it quite simply. They are working for you, but exigencies of activities of both ministers mean they cannot be present in the country, and so perhaps there's no reason for you to begin to think that they're not going to work in your interest.
All right. So, good evening, and thank you for the opportunity. Well, if you remember, it was out of courtesy and respect that we attended upon the Parliamentary Select Committee on Health at the time of confusion, chaos, and adversity. We had high hopes that they will be able to intervene to address the impasse, but as things stand now, we are optimistically pessimistic because even the rescheduling of this meeting was done without recourse to the association. I mean, we only received a letter yesterday, as though these people traveled a day or two ago. I mean, we think that if they want to really help to resolve the matter as they promised, then we need to do things differently. I mean, I was even of the view, I was of the express opinion,
right,
that even before today, they could have informally had a certain conversation on the sidelines. You see, when people are very committed to something, you can see from afar. All right, why do you sit down till the day of the meeting? Then the evening to the day of the meeting, you send a letter and tell us that this person has traveled, this person has traveled. I mean, we think that the reasons to us is not tenable, but we can't do much about it. But our press conference is very clear. We've stated our next course of action if things stands the way it is. So that's what I can say for now.
I take it you find it a bit disrespectful that you paid some courtesy upon this health committee, and yet when the ministers were not present, they didn't return that courtesy to you to have you informed that even days before that this meeting possibly could not come off. That's the sense I get from what you're telling us.
Well, disrespectful may be too harsh a word, but I think it's unfortunate. I mean, to use a little milder word. But I think that would have been appropriate,
right,
okay, for them to have reached out to us even ahead of time, that, or maybe for one reason or the other, the meeting that was supposedly supposed to happen today was not going to happen, so that we know how to, talk to our people. Don't forget that we have a large constituency.
120,000 plus individuals under your grouping. But on the subject matter of your concerns, that has not changed. He's assured you that he's working for you and making sure that your grievances are met. I'm sure that's a point where you can begin to agree with him and have some high hopes, be more optimistic of the fact that come the 10th of July, when you meet the health committee along with both ministers, there will be a date to which your conditions of service will be penned down and you begin to enjoy them.
Well, the assurance comes across generally with a certain positive outlook. However, I acknowledge the pitfalls or the potential pitfalls that could bedevil this kind of engagement. So that's why I describe the whole thing as optimistically pessimistic, because what do we say? As I said, I'm not too happy about how the whole thing
has gone. So
we say that coming events cast their shadows, and unless they prove us otherwise.
So you're suspecting that come July 10, you could still be giving excuses as to why you cannot begin to enjoy these perks which you've rightfully negotiated for?
If that happens, our option will be left with only to revert to the status quo.
Which is to go back on strike?
Absolutely.
These negotiated terms, we had Madame Perpetual reiterate a number of them. Which is most germane, possibly when government comes to the table and says, look, we know we've agreed with you because government is a continuum on a number of things. We can't do a lot of them. Give us just one, which we can begin to implement for you, and then we can move the others into the next financial year. What would that be?
I think we have gone past that stage.
You've gone past
we will not allow anybody to water down whatever agreement that caused us to suspend the strike action. We said four were our fallback. We were asking for total implementation of the condition of service, which were 8 items. However, we reasoned with the people's representative, and that is what necessitated the suspension of the strike. And we will not allow anybody to water down the 4 that was agreed upon. I'm told that it's been expressed elsewhere that they were mere proposals. Anyway, mere proposals. We take the meeting as also a mere meeting. But I don't want to go there, all right? I think that all the 4 items are very germane because it's not all the 4 that goes to everybody. I mean, if you listen to him, he was very clear. I mean, if you have 120-something thousand people and a negotiated aspect is going to 5,000, aspect of a negotiated condition of service is going to 6,000, is going to 900. What is this to break the back of this economy? Why are we making things look as though nurses are not important, or nurses and midwives are not important in the scheme of things in Ghana? Okay, I mean, we've seen the resurgence of COVID. We are seeing a resurgence of COVID. If people are not aware, I want to bring this to their attention.
Well, we're very much aware of that. In fact, that's going to be our next conversation. Perhaps I'll pick your thoughts on that briefly before we do that. But we are seeing the resurgence of COVID, and you believe you will be the person at the forefront in fighting that, hence you must be given your due.
Absolutely. If there is any time that nurses and midwives in Ghana will be recognized and respected, it's now, because quite a number of our people are traveling abroad. And my brother, don't think that those nurses in Ghana cannot travel. Those here, they can equally travel abroad. And there are opportunities elsewhere. The standard of training of nurses and midwives in Ghana, although not respected by some journalists and stuff like that, is so high that they are highly sought after. Okay, I have traveled. I mean, I can tell you in Australia, in other places. I traveled to Australia in 2013 with some nurses. They never came back.
Right.
You understand? When you travel abroad, everywhere, recently that was in Finland, there are people who actually, I saw quite a number of chief executives that came to the conference ostensibly to
poach Ghanaian nurses.
Absolutely, to talk to us leaders as to whether we can help them. But some of us were of the view that look, the good people of Ghana also need some level of some level of care, and therefore we cannot ship everybody outside. We need people to stay in Ghana to take care of our people.
Right, then. Doc, I just want to pick your thoughts finally on the COVID scare, which you mentioned as well, and that's going to be our next story. What will be your expectation of the relevant stakeholders, even as we're beginning to see this resurgence? The University of Ghana Legon campus, quite a number of cases. What would you be expecting?
Well, I think that we don't have to be scared. We've gone through this storm before, and I mean the way it was handled by the previous administration was fantastic. I believe that we have gained tremendous experience as to how to handle such pandemics. You remember, even when Ebola reared its ugly head, in 2016, 2015, thereabouts, we had to even send Ghanaians to go and take care of our people in Sierra and stuff like that. So I think that the country is well positioned to be able to deal with any resurgence. And what I want to admonish Ghanaians is that we don't have to be troubled, okay? Just that we have to observe the COVID protocols that we put in place previously. I think that it is containable, more so when we have even had immunization and therefore certain level of immunity has been built. But obviously, when you are having any feverishness or any kind of malaria symptoms, you get yourself checked as quickly as possible, taking a lot of water, rehydrate yourself, exercise yourself, try to expand your chest, and I believe that we'll be able to contain this disease. I mean, I don't think we need to be fearful. I believe that what the experience that we have gathered so far should be able to see us through any kind of COVID-related ailments that we had.
Thank you very much, Doc. I appreciate you speaking. Like I mentioned, we'll talk a bit more after the bulletin. That's Dr. David Tinkran. He is the General Secretary of the Ghana Registered Nurses and Midwives Association, speaking to us this evening on the conditions of service, a postponed meeting with the Health Committee now to July 10. Let's bring you a bit more stories, this time on COVID, Christabel.
Yes, because health officials have called for calm after dozens of COVID-19 cases were detected at the University of Ghana this week. The Ghana Health Service confirmed an uptick in infections nationwide and is working closely with university authorities to contain the outbreak and review safety measures. In a reassuring statement, the Ghana Health Service noted that all current cases are mild with no hospitalizations reported. However, as a precaution, the university has suspended all social events on campus to limit further spread. The COVID-19 pandemic in Ghana, which began on March 12, 2020, with 2 imported cases, ultimately recorded 171,889 infections, 1,462 deaths, and 170,425 recoveries. While the country has moved past the emergency phase, this cluster serves as a reminder that vigilance remains critical. Well, we have Ifewa Asabia, who is the head of public units at the University of Ghana, speaking here.
How we got to know is that there is a surveillance program being run by the country that is looking at influenza-like illnesses in the country. And the University of Ghana is a hospital, is a site where samples are routinely taken and sent to the lab for analysis. So when we do this weekly, but from the 12th of this month, we started having a lot of our clients going into the clinic spaces with influenza-like illnesses. So we took a bit more samples than we usually do. And then we saw that we were having quite a number of cases testing positive for COVID-19. So for the past 2 weeks, that has been the trend. From the 12th, we took about 69 samples from people, and out of that, we had about 40 of them testing positive for COVID-19, which is way above the usual ones that we see.
That's Ifewa Asabia. She's head of the public unit at the University of Ghana. Let's try and expand this conversation, understand the implications of this latest, I don't want to call it an outbreak, but a little scare. Professor Fred Binka is a clinical epidemiologist. He's joined us via the phone. Prof, I appreciate your time and your patience as well for holding the line for us. Good evening to you.
Good evening, and good evening to your charity listeners.
Right, Prof, there's a big question out there whether or not we really should be worried about what it is that is being reported from the University of Ghana campus. They've cancelled public gatherings, amongst many other things, to prevent the spread and all of that. Do we have a potential crisis on our hands from where you sit?
Well, thank you very much. We've all been what was the problem at the time. I will say that we should just be patient. We are more knowledgeable now than we were when we had the pandemic. The good news is that we've been able to diagnose it, and we need to track it. But it doesn't mean that we should just go about our duties as usual. We have to follow the recommendations that we made, especially washing our hands, keeping our distance, and stop the crowds. And using very when you're in the trotro or you go to work, make sure that you protect yourself and you protect your neighbor. The good news is that these things were just found accidentally. We knew that COVID is gone, but it's not gone forever. If you remember, at the later stages of this pandemic, we had a new virus which was called Omicron.
The Omicron variant.
yes. The Omicron variety was spread very, very, very fast, but luckily it was not, we didn't have many fatalities from the Omicron. So we've got the Ghana Health Service, the School of Public Health, and the university authorities working together now to try and see what we have. And we've sent an alert around the whole country. All the regional directors have been informed. They will put up their measures to try and look out for it. Any flu-like disease or symptoms will be checked, and we will try to contain it. The good news I have heard this afternoon is that we followed up to see whether the virus that they found has been sequenced. And the answer I've got this afternoon is that, yes, sequencing has started, and so far what has been sequenced are part of the Omicron.
So we're seeing the Omicron variant dominant in what was then that supposedly answers my next question about the mild nature of these cases, how it's been, and whether or not there was ever going to be a concern that this could lead to potential risk for persons with underlying health conditions and the likes. Does this begin to do away with that fear that this is the Omicron variant? It spreads quickly, but its effect might not be so damaging.
Well, not so quickly. If you have underlying conditions, you must take extreme precautions, because we've all seen what it has done to people who have diabetes, hypertensive, and so on. I will caution that we don't go to that extent, that we don't worry. You have to worry. It is the young and the strong people that will have the virus and maybe not even notice that they've had the virus at all. Just a small cold. Remember that the influenza work they are doing now, influenza pandemic started 100 years ago and it's still around. So we will continue to have this variant spreading, especially the less virulent variant like Omicron. They will come. We have to be ahead of it. We have to do screening, and we have to examine specimens to make sure that they don't spread too quickly and catch us on the wrong foot.
Prof,
so
just
at the moment,
right. Just wrap up for me, please. At the moment,
at the moment we are on firm ground. The public should just follow the instructions that have been given, and there's really no alarm yet. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much as well, Prof. Just finally, on the measures the university has taken, banned all public gatherings and asking that these protocols you've announced be strictly adhered to, that begins to help us stem the tide, I believe.
Definitely, but there's a big caution that you have to help us. The press must help us tell the university students. I'm sure these are their whole week celebrations and so on, and sometimes they can be a very difficult group to control, but they should be patient, and they could organize those activities later in the year. So please cut down the gathering and let's follow the measures, washing our hands and using the mask.
Prof, as always, a pleasure talking to you. Many thanks for speaking to us.
Thank you very much.
That's Professor Fred Binka. He's a clinical epidemiologist speaking to us this evening here on Hot Edition. The time check, we've got 8 minutes to the top of the hour here on 3FM 92.7. Good news, according to Prof, Omicron variant. And so, yes, there's a cause for concern, but they are firmly in charge and can deal with the situation. We want to venture into politics now, Christabel.
Yes, there's something really, really happening. Very interesting in the MPP camp, because some 300 grassroots executives of the New Patriotic Party, NPP, in the Volta region have openly declared their support for Dr. Brian Acheampong as the ideal leader to guide the party into the 2028 general elections and beyond. The group, calling itself the Concerned NPP Grassroots Executives, made this declaration at a press conference in Ho on Wednesday morning. They praised the Abetifi MP for his long-standing commitment to the party and described him as pivotal to the NPP's future success. The gathering included polling station executives, electoral area coordinators, and constituency executives from across the Volta region. This endorsement comes just a day after the NPP's General Secretary, Justin Frimpong Kodia, issued a directive on Tuesday, June 24, barring party members from forming caucuses or holding meetings with presidential aspirants in violation of party regulation. I think we'll get more from our Volta regional correspondent
absolutely.
real soon.
Faisal Abdul Idris Al-Haji, as should be calling
the newest one.
The newest Al-Haji has joined us in studio with a bit more on this. Faisal, let's get an overview first of this address. We know the NPP not to be so strong in the Volta region, but we're seeing a constituency, a large number of individuals gather to throw their weight behind Brian Achampong. Talk to us about this. What brought all of this about?
Well, so in the last primaries held in 2023, prior to the 2024 election, there were two main contenders in that election. That is Kennedy Ohineye-Agyapong and that of the vice president at the time, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. In the Volta region, after that election, the results indicated that there was more of some sort of alignment towards Ken than the vice president. In that election, Kennedy Agyapong polled some 5,850 votes as against Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia's 4,000 plus votes. And so Ken actually won the Volta region. And so if we want to take it from that point, you realize that Dr. Bawumia, even though he was in government, didn't have the support of the base
a lot of popularity
in the Volta region, except for the regional executives who were whipped in line and gave out all their support. Now, going into the next constituency executives, among them are also polling station executives. And so this brings a new dimension to the conversation in the Volta region. Now we would have Ken supporters, we would have Brian Achampong supporters, and of course we'll have Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia supporters. These three people would be making the waves in the Volta region.
And what is the reason they've been given to decide to
they
step up
find
and
Dr. Brian Achampong as a unifier, somebody who could pull the party together at a time they feel that there is so much friction in the party. And I tell you, some people who supported Kennedy Agyapong in the last primaries have also shifted camp. They are joining the Brian Achampong camp. And so they want to serve as that kind of point of a rallying point, saying that, okay, if you are a Ken person, you are a Dr. Bawumia person, please, the place you should be is the Dr. Brian Achampong camp, where they think is more peaceful, somebody who present an image of a unifier, somebody who can pull the party together ahead of the 2028 election. They believe that even beyond 2028, the very person who can lead the image of the party is Dr. Brian Achampong, and it's exactly why they are throwing their support for him. They indicated also that in terms of commitment to ensuring the welfare of party members, Dr. Brian Achampong comes first. They talk about many of his own projects, not only in his constituency, but also in other parts of the country. I am not aware of what he's been doing beyond his constituency, but these are things they indicate that are endearing enough and brings him closer to being the very person who can lead the party into a difficult election, because the 2028 election is going to be as difficult as the 2024 election.
And you've mentioned they wanting to serve as a rallying point for the other camps, but have we got word from any of these other camps, particularly from that 2023 contest of the NPP from Kennedy Agyapong's camp or Dr. Bawumia's camp? Has there been anything like that? And what are the executives of the party in the region saying? Because we know that the General Secretary has issued a directive that there should be no such endorsement going forward.
Well, I am very much aware that there are individuals, even at the regional level, supporting these various camps, but they are not bringing their faces clear to be seen. As to what the regional executives will be doing about these groups that are emerging already, we wait to see what happens in the coming days, because this is happening today. I am sure if the party wants to probably make any pronouncement on these happenings, definitely in the coming days we should have that. But the Ken camp in the Volta region hasn't said anything yet. The Bawumia camp in the Volta region hasn't said anything yet. And it is because these are just early days yet. The conversation has just started unfolding. I'm sure in the coming days we'll be seeing more of these press conferences and endorsements in the region. And trust me, it's going to be a tough one in the region, because now we have a third candidate in the person of Brian Achampong. If we want to talk about the voter region that had just 2 candidates in the last election. Now there is a 3rd candidate, and that's definitely going to be a tough contest in the voter region.
Faisal, thank you very much. That's our voter regional correspondent, my colleague who works for us in the voter region, Faisal Abdul Idris, providing details there for us. Obviously, one that we should continue to keep our eyes on, that contest already, talks of politics simmering in the air in the camp of the opposition New Patriotic Party and what it is that they are expecting. We're going to be making way for business as well as sports and entertainment, but there are a bit more stories. Christabel, you want to bring us before we do that?
Well, can we take a listen, first of all, to the NPP's women's organizer for Ho Central? She's Thelma Christabel Ejima.
Voter region, grassroots declare unflinching support for Honorable Dr. Brian Achampong, the right hand. We, the concerned police station executive, electoral area coordinators, and the constituency executives of the New Patriotic Party, NPP, from across the voter region, have come together in one unity and in clarity of the purpose to declare our firm and unshaken support for Dr. Honorable Brian Achampong as the best and most credible presidential hopeful to lead our party in 2028 and beyond. Why Brian Achampong? Why do we think Brian Achampong is the best to lead this party in our 2028 election? Yes. Honorable Brian Achampong is a leader who listens, respects the base, and has consistently worked to strengthen the party structures, even in times when others stayed away.
And so that's what Thelma Christabel Ejima, she's the Whole Central NPP's women organizer, paving the way now. Thank you very much, Christabel, for business and sport as well to come through here on Hot Edition. I am Mawuena Egbeta.
And my name is Christabel Success Trevor.
They're the best. Turn it up. 92.7.
expect lower prices on imported goods amid cedi gains, but local price skepticism persists. We'll bring you details of Maverick Research Survey findings. I am Bismarck Ausa. These stories and others lined up for you. Please stay. Thanks for your company. Let's settle now for the detail. A new consumer survey by Maverick Research has revealed that nearly 3/4 of Ghanaians expect significant price drops on imported goods like electronics and fuel following the appreciation of the cedi, but trust in local pricing behavior remains low. The following 3 Business News Desk report has the details. Consumers surveyed by Maverick Research say the recent appreciation of the Ghana cedi should lead to lower prices, particularly for imported goods like electronics, auto parts, fuel, and building materials. The survey, conducted between June 1 and 20 across Accra, Kumasi, and Tamale, shows growing consumer optimism about the economic outlook. But despite the stronger currency, over 1 in 5 respondents still expect prices of locally made products to either stay the same or rise. Managing Principal of Maverick Research, Atumaika, says many Ghanaians believe local pricing remains sticky and that even if import costs drop, those savings may not reach the final consumer. The survey also found that 73% of consumers have already switched to cheaper brands due to inflation, but many say they are ready to return to preferred brands if prices are adjusted downward. While the cedi's gains offer hope, the report says many shoppers are cautiously optimistic, waiting to see if price cuts will actually materialize on the shelves. And that was a 3 Business News Desk report on Maverick Research Survey revealing 73% of Ghanaian consumers expecting lower prices on imported goods amid cedi gains, but local price skepticism persists. Moving on, the Food and Beverages Association of Ghana, FABAG, has expressed concerns that the recent electricity tariff hike could undermine its ongoing efforts to reduce prices for consumers. According to Executive Chairman of FABAG, Reverend John Ewuni, the price cuts initiative, launched in response to cedi's appreciation against major trading currencies, may be truncated due to the tariff increase.
You look at since the cedi started performing very well against the dollar, I have been at the forefront advocating and then also encouraging the business community to reduce their prices. And indeed, for members of food and beverages, we have records of prices of goods going down. Water, rice, sugar, and most of our general commodities have seen a downward trend. But with this thing that is coming up, I wonder how many people will have the courage to generally increase. The tariff, the percentage may look very small, 2 point something, but when you look at it in terms of numbers, that is going to translate into huge bills, and that's going to increase the cost of production. And so I don't think that the trend of price reductions will continue if the government doesn't really suspend this particular tariff adjustment.
Reverend John Awuni is Executive Chairman of Food and Beverages Association of Ghana, FABAG. Now, the Institute of Economic Affairs, IEA, is demanding parliamentary scrutiny over government's decision to extend Tullow Oil's petroleum licenses beyond their current expiry date of 2036, arguing the move requires legislative ratification. According to the IEA, the extension of licenses covering the West Africa Cape 3 Points and Deepwater Tunnel blocks until 2040 under a memorandum of understanding signed between the government and Tullow could constitute a material change to the original agreement ratified by Parliament and therefore cannot proceed without legislative approval.
The IEA's call follows reports of a proposed memorandum of understanding between the government and the UK-listed oil company aimed at extending the firm's operating period. One of the most high-profile cases involved a $330 million tax assessment issued by the Ghana Revenue Authority for the period 2012 to 2016. Tullow contested the claim, and the International Chamber of Commerce ruled in its favor, compelling Ghana to pay legal and tribunal costs exceeding $2.8 million, alongside interest accruing at 5% annually. The IEA says the decision to extend Tullow's license is unjustified in light of these losses and is urging government to reassess its position.
We need to know why an agreement which still has 11 years to run should be extended for any other period of time. And it's also not as though your business partner has been an exemplary business partner. For the past couple of years, we've been caught up in lengthy arbitration with them, which concerning payment of taxes.
A fellow of the Institute and former Chief Justice, Sophia Kufu, urged Parliament to scrutinize the agreement to ensure the country's interest is safeguarded.
There's no need in any case to rush to bind the nation on any form of extension. So I would like Parliament to take that matter.
And that was a report on the IEA demanding parliamentary scrutiny over government's decision to extend Tullow Oil's petroleum licenses beyond their current expiry date of 2036. And that brings us to the end of the business news on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7 with me, Bismarck Ausa. For more business stories, please check out our website, s3news.com. Thanks for your company. Sports is next with Oriku Ampofu. Please stay.
Accra gets busy on this frequency.
Baby fair, mommy, take me there.
Parents, mark your calendars. Is the 3FM Baby Fair happening live on the 11th to the 13th of July at Marina Mall Airport City in Accra from 10 a.m. and it's absolutely free. From baby essentials and kids wear to toys, skincare, educational material, and so much more. Shop amazing deals on a wide range of childcare products all under one roof. Don't miss our sessions with the Ghana Pediatric Society and all the amazing moms with the Mom Circle, a safe space for young mothers to share tips and connect. And there will be fun activities for the kids with our Kids Corner, games for the family, good food, and great vibes all around. To be a vendor, please call 0531 100 927 or 0532 200 927. It's the 3FM Baby Fair, your one-stop event for all your childcare needs.
Hello, good evening, and welcome to the sports segment here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. We start off from some local stories where the National Sports Authority is pushing ahead with refurbishing the Accra Sports Stadium pitch ahead of the Black Stars' crucial World Cup qualifier against Mali in September. The Director General of the authority, Ampofu Ankra, updates on the progress and challenges facing the project so far, including funding delays and ongoing safety assessments.
What has happened is that, yes, the plan is to ensure that the pitch is up to the standard that FIFA and CAF would pass when the inspection happens. But obviously, we've also be mindful of the timetable that we have for domestic sports. So the National Sports Authority is closely engaged with the units that is in charge of the pitch maintenance, and that is Greengrass Technology. They've made several recommendations, and core at the top of that list is that the pitch must be given enough time to resuscitate, to allow them to do the necessary work. So the updates is that the Greengrass Technology have given us an updated request that the pitch be allowed to breathe between now and after the President's Cup. So that is where we are at the moment, and we will strictly adhere to that because they are the ones who are maintaining the pitch, and they are the experts that we brought in to give us those, guidelines.
And so that was NSA boss Yao Ampofuankra speaking. We'll still stay on the local scene, but this time in the Ghana Premier League, where we hear from two-time winner Vincent Atinga, who has reflected on his experiences with winning the league with Bibiani Gold Stars. In an exclusive interview with 3 Sports, the defender also advocated for a quota system to ensure more Ghana Premier League players receive national team call-ups.
I think it's very good for us. I can suggest if they can give us a quota in the Premier League, like local players, maybe every call-up they can give us maybe 3 or 4 or 5 players. I think it will also help the next generation. That if I play in Ghana League, automatically, if I do my best, I'll get a call-up into the national team. So I think it's good. Anytime I see any local player playing the national team, I'm very happy because I've also played in the national team before. So I think it's very good.
And so that was Bibiani Gold Stars centre-back Vincent Atinga, who has won the Premier League twice with Bibiani Gold Stars and also with Mediama. Let's do some women's football now, where we turn our attentions to the 2024 Women's Africa Cup of Nations, which will be hosted in Morocco. As part of preparations for the tournament, 3 Sports brings you the 3rd episode of WAFCON Daily, a comprehensive daily show providing insight into the competition by my colleague Akosua Eje.
Welcome to WAFCON Daily, your trusted source for everything leading up to the 2024 Women's African Cup of Nations in Morocco. I am Akosua Eje. And today, we're diving into some unforgettable memories from 2008, 2012, and 2022. Back in 2008, WAFCON broke new grounds by being held outside of Nigeria and South Africa for the very first time. Nigeria Super Falcons were in hot pursuit for their 8th title, while Ghana, having secured bronze and silver in 2004 and 2006 respectively, were hungry to finally clinch the championship. But it was Equatorial Guinea, only in their 2nd WAFCON appearance, who rose to the occasion. With Captain Geneva Anonam at the helm, the hosts remained unbeaten, stunning Nigeria in the semifinals and defeating South Africa in the finals. In 2012, the tournament returned to Equatorial Guinea, and history repeated itself. The hosts dazzled again, winning every match and capping it off with a commanding 4-0 victory over South Africa in the finals. Fast forward to 2022, and South Africa's Banyana finally won the trophy for the very first time. They broke their streak of near misses. After 4 heartbreaking losses in previous finals, they triumphed at last, claiming their first ever WAFCON trophy on Moroccan soil. That wraps up today's story-filled edition of WAFCON Daily with me, Akosua Eje. Stay tuned for more stories.
Well, you can get more on our build-up to the Women's AFCON, which is in just 9 days, on our social media handles at 3 Sports. But before we go, let's do some news outside the continent, where the Club World Cup is nearing its boiling point. A host of clubs, including Manchester City, Bayern Munich, Paris Saint-Germain, Inter Miami, Inter Milan, Monterrey, and Chelsea, have booked their place in the last 16 of the competition. Another team that will be hoping to join the party in the round of 16 is current holders of the old format, Real Madrid. The White Angels will be against Austria giant Salzburg in a must-win game for the Spanish team. Meanwhile, Africa's representation at the competition came to a rather sad end as Mamelodi Sundowns were eliminated following a goalless draw against Fluminense in Miami. The result confirmed the exit of all 4 African teams, that Sundowns, Al Ahly, Wydad Casablanca and Esperance Tunis from the competition. Let's now bring in my colleague Solomon Amankwa, who believes a lot has to change so teams from Africa can also compete with the rest of the world.
It's been the same like the FIFA World Cup. Until recently, we had Morocco getting to the semi-final of the World Cup. We've not had any Ghanaian or an African team in the semi-final. And clearly, the FIFA Club World Cup had shown that African football needs systematic change. They need a psychological change, because if you look at how these South Americans and the Europeans manage their football, bring in top quality talent, make sure that they have their finances are always stable, they are able to plug in huge sums of money yearly, and then they are able to even sign the best players from the African continent. It means that we as Africans would have to do extra work to get to the level of these South Americans and then that of the Europeans. It is not surprising that all 4 clubs that went could not make past the group stages.
So that was my colleague Solomon Amankwa bringing an end to the sports segment here on Hot Edition. The program continues right after this.
A journey of Pan-Africanism and consciousness. It is your regular taxi driver with the urban blend and 3FM 92.7 in living stereo every day, Monday to Friday from 12:30 p.m. till 3 p.m. This is the show everybody listens to, so your business will certainly do well here. My name, Black Rasta. I am the rootical, hairtical, Don Gargan, Mua Fire, come forward. Atinga ya chika fankare, Azure ya chika fankare, Abama ta chika fankare.
3FM, your urban lifestyle radio.
Accra gets busy on this frequency. 92.7 3FM.
They're the best. Turn it up.
92.7.
Frequency.
Parents, mark your
Accra gets busy on this frequency. 92.7 3FM.
We are totally disgusted.
Well, you're still live here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. The gender-based violence court in 2nd D presided over by Her Honor Mrs. Na Amelia Akoa, has remanded Suleiman Abdul Rashid and Issa Moro into police custody for the alleged involvement in the physical abuse of a 12-year-old boy. As seen in a viral video, the boy was reportedly accused of stealing 200 Ghana cedis. The accused persons are facing preliminary charges of causing harm under Section 69 of the Criminal Offences Act 1960, Act 29, and child cruelty, which contravenes the Children's Act 1998, Act 560. Well, this is the defense counsel's plea for bail. He appeared before the accused lawyer, Emmanuel Atha, appealed to the court for bail, arguing that both men are permanently residents of New Nkansa, a small community where they are well known. He further contended that they had been held in custody for over 48 hours and, given their strong community ties, posed no flight risks. Consequently, the bail was denied and the case has been adjourned to July 10, 2025. Now, the Minister for Foreign Affairs, Samuel Okudzeto-Ablakwa, has raised serious concerns about the involvement of Hajia Halima Mahama, the country's immediate past ambassador to the United States, in a controversial visa services contract signed between the Washington Embassy and a private entity. The issue came to light after the Ministry of Foreign Affairs shut down visa operations at the Washington office, citing an alleged scheme that diverted visa applications to a privately owned platform. Reports indicate that applicants were charged exorbitant fees, sparking public outrage. According to Minister Ablakwa, the contract signed between the embassy and Fred Kwating, along with his company, is unconscionable and warrants further investigation. The Economic and Organized Crime Office, EOCO, the Attorney General's Office, and the Audit Service are currently probing the matter to determine potential legal and financial violations. Honorable Ablakwa, who is currently addressing a news conference, emphasized that Hajia Halima Mahama, who served as ambassador during the period in question, must provide answers regarding her role in approving the agreements. The ministry has assured the public of its commitment to accountability, vowing to take decisive action should the investigations uncover any wrongdoing.
Disgusted that Hajia Halima will say that this ministry does not go into contracts that have revenue sharing arrangements. Now let's be clear. This whole arrangement breaches multiple laws of our country. We have gone through the records. There is no evidence that Hajia Halima obtained approval of the Public Procurement Authority. We challenge her to provide proof that she followed the procurement laws of our country. We don't sign contracts under Ghanaian law like you are sharing granules to some well-wishers who you have met at the park. No evidence that the public procurement laws of our country were respected. We have also stated that if you pay regard to our websites across all our 71 nations, you notice that the advertised fees and charges are fees and charges approved by Parliament. Because we have the fees and charges law, which clearly spells out. So after you've gone to negotiate your contract, you sign your agreement, you must make sure it is factored within the fees and charges arrangement. That is why access is factored. BTS, it is factored in the fees and charges of our country. Fred Kwating and Hajia Halima are above Parliament. They are above the fees and charges laws of our country. That is totally unacceptable. And that is why management decided that based on these flagrant violations, we are abrogating this contract because we think that this contract is even void ab initio. That is why we've abrogated it. We are not respecting the terms of this contract, and we have written to the gentleman. I do hope that EOCO will expedite work on its investigations. And will bring the Ghanaian people justice. Justice must be served in this matter. I must also add that the ministry is investigating the terms under which Mr. Fred Kwarteng was engaged as a locally recruited staff. We have discovered very strangely that whereas his application letter was sometime in March 2017, he is holding an employment letter dated 12 December 2016. Fred Kwarteng probably is the first person in the world whose application for employment comes after he has been employed and after he has an employment letter. Really mysterious. And we are also investigating how come due diligence was not carried out. This is a gentleman who had no business being engaged because did not have the relevant legal status to even be recruited. And so if Haji Alima Muhammad is inviting us to reveal more about this